Good afternoon, everyone, from the LIFE program. This is a part of the communication team at the LIFE program. My name is Julia. I'm a project advisor for governance and nature project, but I'm also the counterpart for communication. And I'm here with Marta from the communication sector in EASME, which supports us a lot for everything that relates communication of the program, and with Gabriela, who works for GoPacom and NEMO, which is our contractor and also provide supports and capacity building on communication. This is the first time we're running a communication webinar. There was a lot of requests for tips and tricks on communication, and here we are for you to reply to these questions, and let's find a way to communicate even better in the course of your projects. I'll now give the word to Gabriela for some technical details.
Hi, everyone. So yes, just to give you a bit of a practical overview, we can't hear you. Hopefully you can hear us very well, but we want to make sure that you're also engaged throughout the webinar. So I just wanted to kind of let you know that in case you have any questions, you can always type them into the questions pane, and we'll be happy to take a look. We'll be monitoring throughout the webinar. And then actually after we finish, we'll have an opportunity for you to ask any questions, and then we'll be reading from the questions pane, and we'll be addressing any questions that you might have. So we'll go through the webinar first, and then you'll have an opportunity to have your questions addressed. So now I'll hand the word to Marta, who will be walking us through.
Good afternoon, everybody. Why communicate? You cannot truly commit yourself to do something without really understanding its benefits or added value. And this is why we would like at the very beginning of this webinar to remind you why communication matters. 3 reasons we want you to communicate for. First, and the most important, is we want you to succeed. And communication helps in achieving the objective, can help in achieving the objective of your project. Second is about sharing, basically sharing your work, achievements, and results. By showcasing your results, you can help, you will encourage transfer and replication of those results. And last but not least, it's about informing policymakers at different levels about the best practices. And not only the policymakers, but also the general public about what's being done with public money, with taxpayers' money. And now what you are contractually obliged to do in terms of communication, this is with Julia again.
Yes, as you know, because you have signed the LIFE grant agreement, there are some obligatory requirements, and we want to mention them once again, even if we know that you are on top of this for these aspects. It's to have a website and keep it online also for later on. And I mean, it doesn't have to be a new website. It can be a page on the existing website of your company, of your organization. There is no reason to duplicate. We just want to be online with your project. Notice boards, where applicable, if your project has an office and has a place where you act for it. LIFE and Natura 2000 logos, we will hear about it later as well. Natura 2000 logo for the nature projects, LIFE for all of you. That's really an obligatory requirement. Networking with other projects. We will have some tips on this also later on. And through the end, the layman's report and the afterlife plan. But as said, these are only the obligatory requirements. And to do proper communication, we expect you and we wish you to really go beyond this. And this is the topic of today, basically. We have invited 3 great LIFE projects who are very, very good in communication, and we've identified some aspects of communication that they covered particularly well. So this is why you are already seeing on the screen 2 ladies. These are Eleonora from Lynx and LIFE, Maya from LIFE Lynx, and later on there will be a presentation from Tobias from Rost. It's my pleasure to introduce to you to the topic of Lynx and LIFE, which regards identifying, connecting with target audience. What a LIFE project should do related with their target audience and also with the stakeholders is first map them. Once you know who they are, you need to get to know them and speak to them, go where they are and tailor your content to them. pre-digest it, pre-chew it. And now I really want to give the floor to Eleonora. She has a lot to say and a lot to share, especially on these topics.
Hi, everyone. I will try to make it short and in time. Clean Sea Life, we can start with the slides, please, which I don't see. Oh, yes. Okay. Clean Sea Life is an awareness project on marine litter run by a national park, universities, NGOs, and a private network of mariners. Next, please. Our objective is to raise awareness of the amount and extent of marine litter and amount of marine litter around Italian shores, suggesting solutions and nudge authorities to take action based on results that we gather on our monitoring activities. Next, please. We still have one more year to go, but so far we've had some good results in the past 3 years. A lot of over 16,000 people took the Clean Sea Life pledge, 2,000 students, lots of clubs and tourism operators. Next, please. 4,000 people, more than 4,000 people have joined in our cleanup efforts, and together we have removed over 36 tons of marine litter from Italian shores and underwater. We also help authorities with our data to pass a law banning microbeads in cosmetics, and likewise we are providing the Ministry and Parliament with data to regulate fishing for litter. And on a local level, we have convinced 3 towns to forbid balloon release. For all of that, we have had extensive coverage with all the numbers that you can see there, with international and national media, of course, with local media, and we have a good social media following. So, like Julia said, map your target audience. In the Mediterranean Sea, over a third of beach litter comes from touristic and recreational activities. Therefore, we decided to target marine lovers, divers, boaters, fishermen, beachgoers, as well as the general public, of course, and kids. So let me give you, for each of these target audience, we have the same structure. We have decided to involve clubs, instructors, training agencies, testimonials, and media partners from that sector. That is, we're targeting these people through people they trust. So let me give you some examples. An example of one of the most successful cases that we have involving divers. We originally wanted to involve 40 clubs, and we're now over 100 that have joined in. The same, next please, the same for dive training agencies. We originally planned to have 2 on board, and now there's 9. And then others started jumping in. The dive show organizers, they decided they have given a lot of space last year, and this year we'll go to the next level. And dive travel operators jumped in as well, and that allowed us to have an impact far beyond what we imagined going abroad. And how do we do that? Well, we have a mantra, which is engage, inform, and motivate these publics. We do that by gaining their trust and making them feel part of the solution. That means listening a lot, because we may have the big picture, but they have the local experience. So listen always, and always be there to help, and always reply whenever they contact you. It really helps if they see you as one of them. So we sail with them, we dive with them, and we also wait for them on the quayside when they come back with their fishing at 2 a.m. It's interesting, but it's hard work. But you have to do that, because that will mean that they feel you are on their side. And we steer them towards possible solution and accompany them. We accept that their change may come in steps. And for instance, this beach bar, this year, they avoided plastic bottles and substituted them with glass bottles. And next year, they will go completely bottle-less. it's important to show and celebrate their success, because others, either for emulation or for competition, will jump in as well. So we try to showcase their results on our website or on Facebook or on social media, like, I don't know, next please, on YouTube or whatever. And their success also gives them social recognition. If you help them build their reputation, they're more likely to remain engaged and help. And we're going with the fishermen. We're going to meet the Pope. They have already met the Pope, but we're going back next year. I don't know if you can get any higher than that, but anyway. We love meeting kids, but accept that we cannot go everywhere. So we build on the capacity of teachers with online seminars. And the same applies with journalists. We're building on their knowledge. We're really communicating with them and helping them with information, even if it doesn't result directly with an article on us, but they must see you as the go-to person for this topic. So it really helps if you feed them information and steer them in your field of expertise. And go where they are and try joining their meetings, whether they are large or small. That makes them feel important and involved, and will spur them to be active. And your presence makes them feel very important. So it is super important to be there with them and jump in at every opportunity. And in the case of authorities, go knock on their door. This is the Minister of Environment. Learn what information they are missing and work on that and try to be useful to them. And in the case of fishing for litter, for instance, we went to, after going to the ministry, we went to Parliament. We met with the rapporteur of the law and explained her what we were doing. And so we went to her, but also invited her to join us in the next piece. You will see she came in the fishing village to see what we were doing. And going where they are means obviously that you have to go on social media. We have 11,000 followers, but we didn't buy any of them. We just gained them over by always replying to them and engage them with interesting content. Next, please. And finally, next, please, tailor your content to each audience. Very quickly, we just give you examples of tailoring the message is. Next, please. For instance, the same message of cleanup is divers. They are the only one who can clean up the seafloor, or boaters are the only one who can collect floating litter, or fishermen that can collect lots of garbage from the seafloor. Here are some materials that we provided. Obviously, it wasn't written at the beginning of the project. We would just realize that people were hungry for information and we provided them, so it's easier for them. So this is for instructors, and the next one is for travel operators. And the next one was trade shows. They distributed these cigarette butt holders and we provided information to go with it. And or balloons. And next, please. And for media, it's really important that you provide them with high quality photo and video, and they will love you, and they will cover everything almost, if it's interesting, what you provide to them. And remember that you have a very high quality camera in your pocket, so always use it. Provide journalists with stories and access to interesting people. Provide them visuals, because they need to show, they really need visuals to go with your story. And provide tailoring the information for authorities means also delivering the information they need to regulate on what you want. And the last thing, very important, use a life logo. Not only you have to, but it's really important, especially at the beginning of your project. Nobody knows you yet, but everybody knows the EU flag. And it really, really helps at the beginning of your project. So as a reminder, engage, inform, motivate, it really works. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleonora. Well, Eleonora, now you saw it, you heard it from her. To identify and connect with target audience, be strategic, make it relevant to daily life. Use your topic to what it's important for the broader public and for your audience, and build your brand, which is something that Cleansy Life really did, and then made the shift from the Huge Life logo to even their own brand. We are short in time and we have a lot of story to share, so I give the word to Gabriela to continue on this.
Thank you, Julia. So actually, the next topic that we wanted to kind of share with you is integrated social media communication. So I wanted to just share a few quick key points to keep in mind when communicating on social media. And then we have Maya Sever from Lynx, who will actually share a best practice and share about her project to actually put into life, so to speak, what social media communication is all about when it comes to life program projects. But firstly, we think that communication mix is very important, and this also depends on where you're also trying to communicate to. So if your audience is mostly on Facebook, that's kind of where you would need to go. And this ties closely into also communicating for engagement. So making sure that you're actually giving your audiences the information that they need, as well as being in the right place and at the right time. And usually what we actually suggest is, instead of just disseminating information, really make sure that with your communication on social media, you're telling a story. So not just telling the facts, but really engaging your communities online by sharing what they might like to hear, what they're interested in. And one way to do this really well is through visual identity. So making sure that communication is very visual, especially since these days there's so much content online. We really want to make people stop and engage with our content and not just scroll through it. So having a really powerful visual identity and visual presence in social media communication is especially important. And this is something that Lynx has done incredibly well. So I'll hand the word over to Maya now to walk us through a bit about the Lynx project and how they were able to really integrate social media communication into their project. Maya?
Hi, yes, do you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Yes, okay, perfect. So thank you, Gabriela, for this nice introduction. So as she mentioned, I'm Sever. I come from Slovenia Forest Service, who's the coordinating beneficiary of the Lynx project. Next, please. So our project is a 7-year project. There are 5 countries involved, Slovenia, Croatia, and Italy, and Romania and Slovakia. Our main goal is to save lynx in the Neric region from extinction, and we will do this by reinforcement. So we will bring lynx from Romania and Slovakia to Slovenia and Croatia. And while doing this important task, we will, of course, work with a lot of different stakeholders. And for that, we need this communication. And we use also classical communication as press releases, press conferences, articles in local journalists or other articles, but also, of course, we use online media. So you can find us online. We have a project webpage as required, and also project Facebook. These are our two main means of online communication. We decided to use just these two because our experience from previous projects like Live Din Albert showed us that maybe some other media like Twitter is maybe not reaching our audience as much as Facebook is. We also use Vimeo and YouTube for videos, of course, and Instagram in the latest year. I will talk more about this later on. Next, please. So yeah, our Facebook. We have actually 2 official Facebooks. One is a Croatian field blog, which is really doing well, like fantastic. The Croatian team is posting their field activities there, videos, photos, comments. So they're really letting people know what's going on in the field, and they have more than 5,000 likes already, which is a really big success for us. And the other one is like a general LifeLinks Facebook page, which is also doing pretty well, I would say. But here we mostly publish news about project activities. All partners contribute. We publish news from webpage. We share it here. Also, we publish events which somehow have a low reach. For now, we can't really make sure why, but we use other means of communicating events, so we have a good visit on the event, so it's okay. But our biggest or the best reach we have with videos, which we have from different field activities, from monitoring. We get videos of animals with camera traps, so we use those, and pictures also from field activities, which are really good. We also use celebrity ambassadors. I will talk more about this later. And one other thing, we created Facebook groups, which can be quite useful for quick and really efficient communication, also internal, like amongst project partners, and also with stakeholders. We have a special group dedicated just for monitoring, and all people who are actively involved in this are members of this group. So it's a closed group, but still it makes it really easy for us to communicate amongst each other. Next, please. So maybe what's easy and what's hard in this Facebook communication. For us, it's really easy because, let's say, we have a sexy species like lynx, so we can have nice pictures, nice videos. Many people, can relate. So also other field activities that we do are quite attractive for someone maybe who doesn't really know what is necessary to do the lynx research or lynx activities. On the other hand, it's maybe hard to communicate when you talk about meetings and report and you post some pictures maybe who are interesting for you but not for your audience. So sometimes you have to do like a creative post, maybe do some short statement out of the box saying like, for example, when you have a meeting, you say together we are stronger or something like that, and it just makes maybe I think a little bit better. Also, when we communicate about large carnivores issues and conflicts with humans, can be quite hard but maybe for Slovenia it's easier to communicate lynx than maybe other carnivores who are maybe have more conflict with humans than the lynx. But nonetheless, we are really proud of our statistics. The numbers are written on top, so we're still trying to improve those. So next please. About our celebrity ambassadors, we have more, but here I will just focus on the two we work most with. One is Peter Preutz. He's a world ski champion ski jumper. He's presented, of course, on our project webpage, but also he was present at the press conference we organized about illegal killing, and he stated that he opposes any illegal killing of lynx and other animals, which was a really strong statement coming from a positive person, a sportsman like him, really made a difference, and the media reported about it. So we really think it's a good way to use an ambassador. But also Peter, he's a sportsman, but he's also a police officer in Slovenia, not really working as one, but employed there. So we wanted to use this and this connection to illegal killings and prosecution of those. The other one is Anžeko Pitar. He's a ice hockey player. He plays in America for LA Kings, but he's also a member of Slovenian ice hockey team, which is called the Lynx, like Risi in Slovenian, which really means a lot to us because they are wearing the logo, the Lynx, always on their jersey when they're playing. So we use this this fact, and we produced a few video clips with Anžeko Pitar stating positive things about the Lynx and the project, and we use those in our webpage, Facebook, also on local television that broadcasts hockey games. Shows these clips there, so I think it has a really nice reach. But also he shares our posts related to this topic, so we can broaden, expand the reach of some posts. So in the next slide, I would like to show you one video clip that we produced with Anžeko Pitar. Next.
Sem Anžeko Pitar. Skupaj lahko rešimo rise. Ali veste, da so risi v Sloveniji na robu izumrtja? Ponosen sem, da je ris simbol slovenske hokejske reprezentance in ne želim si, da bi risi v naravi izumrli in bi nam ostal le logotip na dresi. Podpiram projekt LifeLinks, s katerim bomo ohranili rise v naravi.
So yes, this is just one example of a video clip that we produced, and we share those on our social media. Also, just a quick glimpse of our Instagram account. We just started this like a year ago. Mostly it's used by our Croatian team members. They use their influencers, the Croatian ambassadors, who promote their activities in Croatia. I think they're doing a good job, but we will still work more on this in the future. Next, please. Just to show you, here you can find us, and if you have some questions, you can write to us. So thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Maya, for sharing this example. Just to give a quick overview and share maybe about 3 takeaways that we can consider when communicating, especially via social media, is to really be strategic. And I think this goes back towards knowing the audience and communicating on a local level, especially since those are the people who will probably be interacting with the project the most. And also being creative, so thinking outside the box and maybe sharing with the audience something that they haven't seen before, especially keeping in mind that communication really has an impact when it's visual and when people can relate to it. And like I mentioned, really acting on a local level and bringing the cause closer to the local audience is very important as well. So now I will actually pass the word to Marta, who will introduce the next best practice.
Thank you, Gabriela. So the third presentation is about networking. Networking is in a way also part of your obligatory requirements. We didn't mention it, but you will find it on our website. So LIFE projects are obliged to network with LIFE or not necessarily LIFE projects. Networking activities can include visits, meetings, or information exchanges, information platforms. Just to give you an example, we will be having one just tomorrow, a big platform meeting on chemicals in Vilnius in Lithuania. Networking seems easier to understand because it's about building a beneficial relationship with basically people who can also help you achieve your objectives. And once again, what we already said with Clean Sea Life presentation, it's about choosing well your target audience and connect with it, because only in this case you can be sure that you will be successful with your networking activities. And it's all about being at right place, right time, with right content. With regard to information awareness raising campaigns, it's really important to find appropriate support and multipliers. So what you may need? You may need some support from academia scientists to make you build your content well. You will have to connect with new media, social media. You will have to find bloggers and influencers to have your message heard. You will also have to use traditional media, so basically journalists, radio, TV, to also to reach people who are reading newspapers, listen to the radio, and watch TV. They still exist. And you will also have to go to events to present what you are doing with kind of adapted content to the public that will be present at those events. In all those choices, you will have to be strategic. So you will have to connect to people you know well with appropriate tools and channels. And now I think that Tomasz Adamczewski from Wzrost project will be even more convincing, telling you about networking. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here and connect with us, but we had recorded his message, so we'll play it now for you.
Hi, my name is Tomasz Adamczewski. I work for WW of Poland, and I want to talk to you a little bit about our LIFE project that we just finished. It's called Lake Wzrost, and it's about climate policy in Poland and making sure that there's more social acceptance for climate policy. And the background is that Poland has been typically historically a country that blocks climate policy because of a lot of reasons, but there were still a lot of persisting climate myths. Our renewable energy regulation was also lacking. People used to think that coal is a main source of energy and it's supposed to stay that way forever. And that our air quality wasn't great. It was another issue we thought we could tackle. And one of the main myths and misunderstandings was the European trading scheme. A lot of politicians and a lot of stakeholders thought that money is just being funneled from our industry to Brussels somehow. And some people still think that way, but much fewer now. Now, what we did in terms of the project is it was a communication project for the most part, but we wanted to know which target audience we should reach and how we should reach them. So what we did first is ask social sciences and academia to help us out and let us know what type of messaging we should use to get to our target audience. One of the things they told us was to make sure that we include examples of how climate affects Polish people in Poland, and this is something we included in one of the main products that we had. We also had a merit-based document that we developed in the beginning, and it was about getting the statistics right. It was about getting information right, the full merit base on climate change, on energy systems, on circular economy, these kinds of things that we could later use in communication products, so that we know that they're viable and that they have a very sound scientific basis. So this was the expert report. You can download all of these products. They're on the website also. And we produced a long documentary film, and this is the first documentary film in Poland about climate change, and about climate policy, and about energy transition. It's in Polish, but it's also in English. You can take a look. It's something that's quite new. We showed it directly to 773 people who watched it in movie theaters, and I'll talk about that in a sec. What we also did is we took 10 topics from the film and we divided them into small docuseries. And this was really good because these are 5-minute episodes. People don't get tired of watching them. They're really dynamic. And we also partnered up with Discovery Network to disseminate this movie, which was a good idea. It's always good to have a big partner who has the capability to disseminate information and to have impact. It's not good enough to just get some numbers, but it's about reaching a big audience. And TV is right now not as impactful as it used to be. And we also saw that when we were writing the project, we thought that showing these 10 episodes would meet our criteria much quicker. And however, Discovery was a good partner in making sure that they reached over 8 million people, something we wanted to, something we had in our contract. So they showed it 4,000 times, the 10 episodes, rather than 1,000 times, which we thought would be enough in 2013 and 14 when we were still writing or thinking about the project. We showed the premiere of the movie during Dogs Against Gravity. It's an international film festival in Warsaw, and the film actually got first prize in the environmental section. So that's just another way to invite you to watch the movie. We also engaged bloggers and bloggers. Super important to use social media, and as TV is not as impactful anymore, social media and the internet, of course, is taking its place. Bloggers and bloggers are fantastic because they spark the conversation, and then you can just keep it alive. And this is an example here of a discussion that was held with people who maybe are climate deniers, climate change deniers, or they prefer oil, gas, or coal energy systems, not understanding why renewables are coming in and they're better So these types of discussions are also good because they're online and you can invite your friends or stakeholders to participate in them. You don't have to be left alone, but it is important to have a network of people you can rely on. Not to leave the bloggers and bloggers alone, because if they don't participate in the discussion, then nobody will be convinced of anything. We took the movie on a roadshow. We went to Polish cities, big cities, and to Berlin and to Brussels. I thought it was important to show the Polish perspective also outside of Poland. Although our main focus was on Poland because that's where we wanted to change people's minds. What we did before the roadshows was use public transport to display advertising about the roadshow and that we're coming, so that we could invite people from the street to come, not just stakeholders whom we would send invitations to. And this was important in terms of making sure the conversation and the discussion was open to public. Facebook is a very important part of social correspondence right now. We had 51 posts and it reached about 3 million people because our Facebook has about 500,000 followers, but also because our partners would share our posts. It's also super important to make sure that media knows about the project. We have 516 mentions that reached over 6 million people, but that's not just because we had press releases, but that was also because we went to journalists, we went to the radio, we went to TV stations to talk about the project, but also about the issues. And when the issues are popular, you can go and you can talk about them, but always mention your project, and that way you'll get a better presence. Now, in terms of what came out of the project and what happened in Poland, in Polish society over the years when the project was happening, and this is an important part, is when we have a KPI where you want to change people's opinions, change people's minds. It's important to measure through polls in the beginning of the project and when it's done. And what we see here, and this is very exciting and it's super important, is that we see a 7% increase in people's positive response towards climate and energy policy in Poland. So this is something we can take to policymakers, and this is something we can take to journalists, and we can show them that look, Polish society is ready for change, and there is no need to go back to Brussels and keep vetoing climate policy. So what changed? Opinion polls, you just saw that. We have new regulations on boilers, and you can't buy any type of coal anymore. You can't buy any type of boiler anymore. This is going to help with reduction of the smog problem. Now that you can't buy any type of old boiler anymore, prices are competitive with new types of even renewable energies that you can install in your house, such as heat pumps or maybe using pellets. And we also have new feed-in tariffs for biogas, which is something that hasn't been here before. And unfortunately, not everything's perfect. There are still some taxes on wind turbines that were introduced. We still have a rule where the height of the wind turbines is a problem. So we've seen a slowdown in the sector. So it's still something we can fight for in other projects. But at least we do see now that there's much less mainstream climate denialism in Polish society and in politicians. And hopefully this is something that will make sure that we have good climate policy in the future in Poland. We still have a lot of work to do, but this was something that hopefully changed the way we see climate policy in Poland. So that was it. If you want to get in touch with me, please write me an email or visit the webpage. You can watch our documentary film or documentary series or any documents we produced over that time, and you can download them for free. Thanks.
So very briefly, 3 takeaways from this presentation. Always be strategic. Think, plan, and act strategically. Talk about the issue and not necessarily always about the project. So this is basically that you have to explain what is the issue your project is dealing with. And it is relatively easy for life projects, as you are dealing with issues that are very close to citizens. And the third takeaway is get into the media mindset. So this is basically about understanding media and creating appropriate content for them and connecting with journalists and bloggers to spread your message. And before we go to questions, we would like to very quickly go through a list of tips that we covered in this webinar that are crucial for us, and hopefully that you will keep this slide and you will use it in your communications. So first is about being strategic. We repeated in 3 different presentations how important it is to basically ask yourself the question about what you want to achieve and how. Then you can't reach everyone, so you have to be selective. You have to define your target audience well in advance. You have to know who is your target audience to be able to select appropriate channels and communicate with them. Then think issue and not projects. So once again, what Tobias was explaining, it's very important to highlight what is the issue your project is dealing with. Make it relevant to daily life, so to show about what you are doing for the society. It was very visible with Clean Sea Life project. Be creative. This is, I think this is my best part. So this is what you can do with communications, that of course you have to be strategic with selection of your tools and channels, but then there is quite some room for your creativity to use visuals, to use videos, infographics, and all this. And of course, to be on social media as well. Get into the media mindset. This is about connecting with journalists, but also understanding media, how they work, what kind of content they need, and to be able to reach their basically expectations. Think global, act local, very visible and very well done in case of the Lynx Life, the Life Lynx project. So basically that was about connecting with local media and also using local heroes. And build your brand. I think the best seen at the example of a Clean Sea Life project. So to become a trusted source of information, and at the same time to participate in all the strategic discussions whenever only possible. So this is for you. We'll send to all the participants of this webinar this presentation, so you'll have those tips for to remember. And now let's go to questions.
Okay, so during the presentations, we've received a few questions. There's still time, so if you have any questions now, feel free to type them into the questions pane, and we can address them as we go. We have about 10 minutes for questions, more or less, so maybe we can just start by taking a look at some of the ones that we've already received. So we have a question from Sarah Atana, who's asking, she's noticed that the communication of Clean Sea Life is in Italian, and was asking if this is a strategy, and that it's important to communicate in English as well. So maybe Julia, if
Yes.
you have something to add.
Yeah, so it's a very good point. Communication towards the European Commission and the ASME should be in English, and we really insist on this. But then, otherwise, it depends on your target audience, and this is what the presentation of Clean Sea Life was about. So, first of all, you should talk the language of your target audience. In the case of Clean Sea Life, of course, we could not imagine them talking English to the Italian fishermen or to the kids. But when they delivered the message to the European Parliament, that had to be in English. That's so that you target the language, you choose the language depending on your target audience. And what we need from the live program side is to be able to understand you and what you're doing. So in certain cases, we would ask you to provide us a video with subtitles. That was the case of the Live Lynx video, so that we also see what you're doing and that the other project can see and reproduce or replicate what you're doing. Yeah.
Thank you, Julia. So the next question is from Stephanie Glath from EcoCare, and she's wondering because she's not working on a project that's actually aimed at a grand public as an audience, but rather the scientific and the eco-interested industry and scientific community. So actually the target audience is quite different and would need specialized communication. So Marta, do you have anything to?
Yes, so the good thing is that, of course, she knows your target audience, so it's scientific community. Of course, she will have probably to do a bit more research about it, like so how to find this community, what this community is using, what would be the best tools to reach this target audience. So I would say that of course scientific community, it will be mostly probably going to some kind of scientific conferences. But first, of course, to make a plan and see what kind of conferences would be the best, because also scientific community is very broad, so she has to be as precise as possible to target well the events she would like to cover. And then with what content, so I would guess that would be rather a kind of scientific presentations or reports or studies, so something very concrete and academic. And of course, here the social media and maybe visuals will not make it. Mm-hmm. But then this additionally, she will have to answer herself the question about the scope of the scientific community she would like to target. Is it within one country, or so then it's a question of language as well. If it's beyond, it's probably a bit more complicated, but still it's a good way to work with scientific association, institutes, universities. Yeah, so
yeah, that's great.
Basically.
Thanks, Marta. So actually we have quite a few questions coming in now, so thank you very much for your enthusiasm. I think that's great. So Anne Isabel is asking, who can we contact if we have questions about our communication? So maybe I can just mention that after the questions, we'll close a bit and we'll let you know where you can contact us further and how you can engage with us. So don't worry, we won't leave you hanging there. Then we have another question from Clara. What do you think is the best way to promote an event?
Shall we?
The best way to promote an event? I would say it depends, but of course it's a bit of everything. So I would definitely promote it via social media if the project is using social media and so on, because this is part of the connections. Then if you have a running website, if you maybe have a newsletter, we would probably promote it also via newsletter. But maybe something that can be very helpful is also that, of course, we will give you, as Gabriela just said, some kind of contact details and how you can reach us, because there is also part that we can actually help you. So EASME communication team is there for you. And basically, we have our website. So live program is on EASME website. We have our section. And we have different things there. So we also have events calendar. So your event can be promoted there, can be also be maybe in our monthly newsletter and on our social media. So basically, of course, depending on your audience, but we can help you also to promote it more internationally or at EU level. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
that's it.
And maybe I can mention Maya and Eleonora, feel free to also jump in if you have any specific experience from your projects as well. Then we have another question here, actually, from Marina, who would like to ask Life Lynx about how they approach the ambassadors and if there's any tips that you would have in order to approaching ambassadors or influencers, as this is kind of an out-of-the-box thinking activity, I would say.
Well, in our example, one of my colleagues was involved in this issue to make the first contact and build a relationship with them. The thing is that both our ambassadors are Slovenian, so it was quite easy to reach them, I would say. I mean, they were really willing to cooperate with us, so we didn't have like an issue getting them. So maybe if there would be some problems, maybe that you'd have to use some other strategy. But usually, I mean, if you need an ambassador who's willing to cooperate with you and who's willing to work with you, so try reaching to them towards social media or emails, and try to make your quest or your topic as interesting as possible to them, so that they see what's the purpose they're promoting the project.
Thanks, Maya. Then I can read the next question from Lucio Vaira. So, are there guidelines for beginners for a good communication plan? Marta.
So the guidelines for beginners. So I would say it's about the elements that have to be there. So basically, when you are writing your communication plan, communication strategy, you first always have to ask yourself what's your objective. So what's basically objective of your communication activities. Then you will have to define who is your target audience. Then of course you will have to do a bit of research and to know your target audience better. Then it's all about channels and tools you will use. So yeah, so again, this is something that you will adapt to your audience, messages, how you will basically formulate your objective. And at the very end is also about the evaluation of your communication activities. Because even if we are here and we presented you some kind of success stories, bear in mind that sometimes it's not that easy, and we sometimes also face some difficulties, and we are not always successful with all communication activities. But this is not, in a way, it can be lesson learned. So it's actually also good to always see like how successful you are. If you're organizing an event and if your objective will be to have 100 people participated, and basically to have some kind of feedback as well, and you will not maybe reach this objective. Why? So then you always can basically learn also from your experience. But yeah, so I hope that covers this question.
Yes, there are a few questions related to the presentations, if you will get it afterwards. Yes, of course, be sure, yes. It will be online, you will get it afterwards. You can actually rewatch the full webinar if you loved it that much. There is a question for Eleonora. Let me find it back. Yes, how did you evaluate the impact of your communication? If you did it.
Well, no, of course. Well, there are a few tools. Facebook has its own sort of metering. You can go on the page and find out how many people you impacted. And Google has a service to do that on your website. And of course, these are numbers that we provided in our report.
Okay.
And there was a question before about the languages. Yes, we speak Italian because ours is a mainly Italian project. But for instance, we on Twitter, we sort of divided social media accounts. So Facebook is for the Italian public mainly, and Twitter, we use it mainly for international audience. We want to also export and let other people know what we do, and we find that Twitter is actually our main channel towards international people.
Okay, thanks, Eleonora. And so the next one that we have here, if the ambassador's tips. Well, actually, there is a question. Do you have a best practice example of a live project that uses Twitter as the main means of communication additionally to the project website? I would have replied Lynx and LIFE because I follow them on Twitter a lot. There are actually many more. I can't say of a specific one. Do you have one
specific? So good at on Twitter, right? And I think that
yes, I have one. Invasive alien species. That's the Life as Up. So about invasive alien species, they do a lot of communication on Twitter, which is related also to their citizen science approach, basically. But my suggestion, if you want to follow examples on Twitter, Actually, we will give you some hashtags
follow us
afterwards.
on Twitter, and then
If you follow us on Twitter, we usually always repost a good post from the project, so that's a way to map them and to target them. And anything else? Regarding the question on the guidelines for beginners, actually on the LIFE website, there is a section on communication where we have some guidelines and tips for beginners, and this is also the place where you will find this presentation and print out a PDF of the tips that we shared so far. And we have some good examples of projects depending on the area that you cover. We are aware of the fact that you don't need to communicate all in the same way and on for the broader public. There is an interesting question. Maybe Maya, you could answer this. It's from Lucia Luskar. How often do you track your reach on Facebook, Instagram, etc.? Do you?
We track it regularly, at least once a month, I would say, just to see how we're doing. And just when we post something interesting, we also check afterwards how's it going, because it was quite revelating to see which posts are the best posts that we have. So not always usually the most obvious ones with videos and photos, also when we posted like for a job opportunity, so that we had the high reach, which was interesting. Yeah.
If I can jump in. There was a question on how we were able to reach 11,000 followers on Facebook, and did you use sponsored posts? No, we didn't use sponsored posts specifically because we wanted to learn and see what posts were interesting. So no, we tried to provide interesting visuals, interesting stories, and tell stories not just about us, our project, but provide the context and use news and make it relevant and bring the news back to our project or to the question in general. I probably haven't explained myself, but hope I did.
I think you did. Yes, thanks. So you wanted to take this one? Do we need no, the other one?
That one about the official channels and so on.
So
shall I take this one?
The question is, are there official EU live channel? It is possible, advisable to use to disseminate the project's materials, results, info regarding events?
Yes. So basically, how we can use the kind of official EU live channels. So as for live channels, maybe I would just, if we could go to the presentation, can we? No, sorry, it's this. It's a different keyboard. So this is about official live channels that we have. So we are on Twitter, of course. You can tag us. We are on LinkedIn. We are on Facebook, and we are on YouTube. But more than that, we also have the website, and basically we can advertise your events and we can advertise your projects. It's just that, of course, you have to stay in touch. Send us what you are doing and what are your milestones, and then it will be just subject to our editorial calendar. So we are trying to do as much as possible and multiply basically your promotion. Whenever you tag us, we will notice it. So it's you can actually send us an email, but you can also directly contact us via social media, for instance. As for EU channels as such, it's maybe slightly more complicated, but it also depends, because we are, of course, in touch, our communication sector, with DG Communication at the Commission level. So we are very often asked to contribute to different communication campaigns, corporate campaigns, and corporate events. So maybe not necessarily with if you would like to use the official Commission channels to promote your events, it could be basically a retweet from official account of DG Klima, for instance, or DG Environment, of what we put on our Twitter. That can happen. But then we could also invite your project or list your project on the list of projects for a specific communication campaign, as for example EU Protects or EU Invest and so on. Or suggest your projects to be taken to some of the corporate events. So this is also can be very helpful for you. Sorry, I was a bit long because I see that we're running out of time.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much again for the engagement. That's great.
Yes.
Maybe we can go a few more minutes of questions.
Exactly. We have still 260 people on board, so maybe you're interested in listening to the other question or waiting for the answer to your question. I'll take the one from Goxen. So do we need to use the word life in our branding, or is it fine to put the logo on the website and use the project name in our branding without life? Sure, it's perfectly fine. Don't forget the logo, but you don't need to have the life name in your logo. And there was another question on, so is the creation of social media profile of the project mandatory? What to do in the social media channels of a partner is very powerful in terms of followers. No, it's not mandatory to create a social media profile. And actually, if you have already a social media channel which works very well, use that. Don't replicate, don't duplicate. It's like for the website. Of course, when you're talking about the project, acknowledge that you're talking about the project. You might want to use always the same hashtag with the name of the project if you're not creating a new social media channel. But we don't request you to create something that you don't deem useful, actually. And
the one on international media, if I can.
Yes, of
because
course.
this is so the question is, do you have any tip strategy on how to get project coverage in international media? So one of the tips is, of course, act local to go global. So basically, if you attract your local journalists and so on, you may still be able to somehow draw attention of international media as well. But this is something we can actually help. And again, it's about those corporate communication strategies. So we can basically promote the project or suggest the project to be part of those corporate strategies. And those communication strategies, sometimes they have very interesting media package, and then basically they are covered via international media differently. So here I would suggest just stay in touch with us and let us know about your milestones, and we'll do the necessary to basically bring more attention from international media to the project.
I have a question from Agat. So hello, do you have suggestions to communicate about invasive alien species eradication as it can be seen negatively for general public? My first tip would be the one that I just gave. So follow the way that Life as Up is doing it, because they're really highlighting the benefit for the community from the fact of addressing the issue of invasive alien species, and also they are highlighting what the individuals can do in their daily life, in the way they travel, in the way they buy or not buy or avoid buying certain species. So there are ways also to communicate about difficult or hot topics, and we have some champions out there that you could follow. Then there are various questions from your side about the fact that if social media is obligatory. Again, no, it's not obligatory. You'll have to write your own communication strategy and see what is really important for your project to deliver your message. Maybe this can be for you, Marta. What mention should we use on social media? At Live 2018, none of these actually exist. So
no, we have at Live program. So basically, this is
it's what you see on the screen now.
So you see it on the screen, and then we have also one slide in our presentation for you, basically about hashtags we normally use. And we also check those hashtags. So our general hashtags is basically live program, live project, or live projects. But then we have a kind of long list of hashtags according to topics. And those hashtags are official hashtags of the Commission. So in a way, you stay connected not only with our account, but also of the accounts of European Commission, DG Environment, and DG Climate Action. So we advise you to have a look and to see what's the closest to your activity and to your topic, basically, and which you could use.
Yes. Then there is another question about, there are two questions. Do you have complete logo manual with examples and all the details? I didn't find it.
It's complicated. Okay, it's complicated, but we have it. So basically, we can send it to you by email as well. It's on our website. the logo and so on, so you can download it. And as for colors and so on, it's in the EU visual basically manual, so that exists. But okay, we will probably adapt it on our website, that you have complete information on our website. That would be easier for you.
We'll have also some homework to do
Yeah,
after
exactly.
this, like you have, but also to bring it back to the story and the way life is there since 27 years. Back then, there were not all these constraints on communication. The LIFE program grew with all of this, so we are learning by doing it, as well as you are doing it. But the moment you keep your LIFE logo there, you stick to the color of the European flag, you cannot do much wrong. So we will put all this other nitty gritty and detailed information, but actually most of the LIFE projects are just doing great in this. And we have also a question, mostly for Maya, I'd say. It comes from Katarina Scott. So how do LIFE links, and also Cleansea Life eventually, deal with the problem of multilingualism? Do you have a main language and just important content in English, or every language in equal parts? How do you balance your languages?
So yes, as I mentioned in the presentation, the Croatian field blog is only in Croatian. So it's targeting really Croatian stakeholders, locals who want to know more about the situation there. So it's written in Croatian. But the LifeLinks Facebook uses English as the main language, and also at least one of the other languages of the countries involved in the project. So it depends on the topic of the post. If it's talking about Slovenia and Croatia, then it's in Slovenian and Croatian, or in one of those. If it's connected to activities in Romania, it's also in Romanian. If it's in activities in Italy, then also in Italian, but always in English. Because also, if you don't write the post in your language, English is usually the best one to translate from. So when you write just in your, like, if I would write in Slovenian, the translations that are done online are usually really bad. And the people who get these generic translations of the Facebook post would maybe read something really gibberish. So we use English as the main, and then also one of the other languages.
Thank you, Maya. Thanks a lot. I have another question, short one but important, from Radostina, and I give it to Marta. What are the criteria to reach LIFE Bulletin? I guess she means the LIFE newsletter. What kind of articles do you prefer?
So it's maybe not that much about the kind of articles as about editorial planning. So of course, we are not completely free. We have to adapt to what we are advertising or what we are promoting monthly. So this is something that we also discuss with basically DG Environment and DG Climate Action and so on. And then according to big events or like milestones in our thematics, we'll select the project that fits the better. But nevertheless, like if you send us some kind of content, we will always get back to you, and we might not be able to have a slot for you in December newsletter, for instance, but we will certainly propose you some kind of alternative. As for articles, you can go to our website and see, because we have different types of articles. We have success stories that are about one project. We have also kind of grouped articles that we are trying to promote thematically a few projects at once. Then we have also interviews with project coordinators, for instance. So, but it's mostly about achievements or like big milestones and a kind of innovation in terms of, I don't know, kind of apps or like applications developed by projects. Can be also events or big things projects are organizing, like as I was mentioning about networking and platform meetings. If you go to our website now, in the events calendar, you will, for instance, read about the platform meeting that takes place tomorrow in Vilnius. So yeah, so just stay in touch.
Yeah, exactly. And so we are really going close to the end. There are many questions, but we will try to answer them also then on our handout that we will distribute after the presentation. I have yes, so from a question from Natalie. Our project involves several European partners. I would like to know if there are a European media, newspaper and radios. I would say there are, but for me, there is a specification here because there are European media newspaper, but the issue is whether your European partners are actually using them. So that's something that you know better than us. Then regarding the European media newspaper, I give it to Marta.
So basically, we have some European newspapers, mostly like European Voice or like Politico here, or but still depending on the content, because those I'm not sure if all of those European media or newspapers will be relevant for your project, because it's either very political, I would say, so might not be for project communication. I think unless it would be a thematic communication that would be much more than one project, but like basically part of life, then probably there is a possibility to have it included. But definitely to check with the European partners what kind of European media they are thinking of, because
One question for Eleonora, and so basically, what are the steps to bring in the journalist that you took?
Well, it helps that I am a journalist, so I was able to build on my own sort of notebook and contacts. If you're not a journalist, if you're not don't have one, read the news and get in touch with the people who are writing about your topic. And they are always hungry for information. So as long as you have the LIFE logo, and that will spark their interest because they will know that you are an important person. So get in touch with them, explain what they do, ask them what their questions are, what they will be interested in, and build with them a story. That is the suggestion I can give you. And of course, always strive to provide visuals, because I remember the first thing that they told me in television was, what can we see? What can we show people? People need to see something. So think as a journalist, provide visuals that they can then use.
Yeah, there is a question related to this from Manuela. So what are how to involve then the relevant policymakers from your target audience? So I guess this is for both of you, Eleonora and Maya. Maya,
Maya, go ahead.
Yes, sorry.
To raise the importance of the links towards the policymakers, what's the best way to involve them or to get them on board?
Well, from our experience, we have really good cooperation with our policy workers. The thing is, we're building relationship with them from the past, also from previous projects and other activities. So, and it also kind of depends in which institution is involved in the project. So if you have, for our example, we have institutions who are directly involved with policymakers, like partners in the project, it's easier. So for us, I would say it's mostly from previous experience and building good relationship with them. So, but in Slovenia, maybe it's a specific situation. It's a smaller country. Maybe things are a bit different than somewhere else. So.
Well, in Italy, it's a bit more complicated to get in touch with policymakers. But for instance, we got in touch with the, let's say, Vice Minister of the Environment just by stalking. We tried the usual ways that didn't work. So we just stopped him out of a conference and just barged into it and said, hello, I am from a LIFE project, blah, blah, blah. And it helps, I mean, find whatever way you can. It helps if you provide information, then they will see you as somebody useful. And if you can talk to them and understand what the information they are looking for and what they're missing, well, you will become their best friend because you are providing free of charge information that they need.
Thanks. I mean, for the people listening, you see the type of expertise we brought in with this project. They really have the answers better than the communication experts. There are a lot of questions again about the LIFE logo in all promotional material we produce. Yes, Clara, you really have to. And it is not for a meaning of protagonism from the LIFE program. It's to acknowledge the funding, it's to acknowledge that there is money from the European citizens which is supporting your project up to 65%, up to 60%. So it is indeed really important. And it is important as a contractual obligation steps, meaning that if we find material that has been paid with project money and has not been acknowledged the funding, then we might not be able to refund you this money. So there is quite an important budget issue related to that. But really, it's, as Eleonora was saying, it brings a level of quality. It's a kind of quality level on your material, and it's acknowledged the funding that is coming with taxpayers' money of all of us. And I think we managed to reply to nearly all type of questions, even if not to all each single question. There was one thing, one question from Paula who left, but maybe she will watch us again, related to how many posts a day or week do you need to do to keep your followers' attention?
So as for our corporate accounts, for Twitter, we go from 2 is minimum, but we easily go to 3-4 per day. Of course, it's actually nice to spread them around. So we always do it according to some kind of editorial planning. So we know what we are tweeting about. We know well in advance. We prepare the visual and so on. So sometimes it might, if you go on Twitter, you think that it's very easy, but it's also a lot of preparation, also with tagging and with linking to different kind of content. On LinkedIn, I would say it would be 1 post per day. And Facebook, we are having 2 up to 3 per day.
Maya and Eleonora, are these your numbers as well, approximately, or not necessarily?
Well, for LifeLinks project, it's a bit different. In our Facebook, we, statistics say we do about 3 posts per week. We don't do it each day. We decided we don't want to overwhelm our stakeholders and to do it like sparsely, not so often. And for now, it kind of pays off, because maybe we could do 1 a day. That would be okay, especially with the posts like funny pictures from camera traps or some videos. But we just, for now, we're sticking to this like less is more kind of way.
Eleonora?
We do it at least once a day, 1 a day. But it also helps because we have different topics to cover. And yeah, we try not to overload people with information, but then we have lots to say. Also because we are sharing other people's content. Like I said, we want to portray what other people are doing, just to show what they are doing. So whenever we are tagged or we have we receive information and photos of what our people are doing, that we always share it immediately, and then we create content about once a day.
Yeah. Thanks. I mean, you see it once again.
Which is completely understandable, because of course we are multiplying content. We are not really producing everything, and the projects are producing their own content. So of course there's less.
And it's again basically tailor-made and strategic. So depending on the project, depending on the topic you cover, you will have another presence on social media. I would say we have 2 last questions, and then we really have to close for the day. But this seems quite pressing one. There is one from Jacob, who is still with us and listening. So how does the Commission see the value of the project communication? It seems that the projects can spend a lot of energy and money on communication. Should the projects use more energy and money on this matter in the future, or just use it more focused? Just use it more focused. Meaning the focus of the LIFE program is and will stay forever, protect nature, environment, and climate action. This should be your focus. You do your job. The only thing that we are focusing now is there is so much that you are doing. It's really a pity not to communicate about it. So focus on your action. Have a communication strategy from the beginning. So think of communication. That's why we're talking about this. But we're not really asking to put much more money in the next budget, in the next project proposal. It's just to have it as one of the elements that you need to take care of. And it's for the good of your project, is to increase the environmental benefits that you're reaching to your project, actually. And the other one from Goxon, which I flagged, we will speak. So it's a project with 10 EU member states. They'll speak English when they target the EU decision maker. But could you confirm that we can publish national documents in different languages with 1 paragraph English introduction? Yes, in this case, I'm a project advisor, I can really confirm this. When you do this, always give a justification. Let us know why. You know, the type of contract we have with our beneficiary is very close. You know your technical monitors, you know your project advisor. Let them know why you're doing this and let them have a summary. And then they will assess if in a specific case we really need a translation, but there is no reason to waste money in translation when that's not crucial. I think we
covered now.
We covered, and we have nearly 200 of you still with us.
Which is
it's amazing.
Something.
Yes, thanks a lot for this.
Maybe just one, because there was one question about any possible additional communication
yes.
webinar, but this is something that it also depends on you, because we'll send you a short survey after this webinar, and we'll ask you if we somehow met today your expectations and what's there left. And we are flexible, and we'll be happy to organize something else, maybe more specific if necessary.
Yes.
So the survey should actually pop up right after the webinar is over. So we really appreciate your feedback in that regard. And I just pulled up also the contact information that we had mentioned.
So so basically here you have EASMA Live Communication email address. And you have our website where you can find all detailed information also about communication.
Yes, so again, thanks a lot. Greetings to all 300 and more of you from us, but also from all the other colleagues that are behind the scene and work every day on the LIFE program in EASMA, in DG Climate, in DG Environment, at GOPACOM, at NEMO, the EASMA communication sectors. There are many people who are waiting for your results, not only communication terms, but also in communication terms. Let's keep in touch. And through communication, remember, you can really make your LIFE project and the LIFE program even better. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
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 Ciao.
Ciao.